Hey YouTube, so I went to AOAA with Infidel Jeepers of Maryland. This will cover 4 different trails, 15, 19, 10, and 28. Please like and subscribe. So there are 2 blue trails that are kind of short that we're going to go through in this video, and then some longer green trails. So this will give you an idea of what some of the content looks like at AOAA, and like I said, green, blue, that means like it's easier content than some of the other videos that we've done. So right in front of us you can see that hill climb there. It's maybe like 45 degrees kind of perspective. This is the 15B trail. And I know I think I've done this trail a couple times on YouTube already, but it was on the way with Infidel and everybody wanted to do it, so we did it. The trick here on this one is you just have to kind of gun it a little bit when you go up. That sounds kind of dangerous, but that's just sort of what you have to do. So this is like the one way to go, and then there's another way to go. This is like kind of like a horseshoe shaped trail, and you just basically just gun it a little bit like between those trees, and you do not stop gunning it. And what we kind of learned, and I don't want to, kind of reel too much, but we kind of learned that when you get really close to that tree and you gun it, you don't just like let off, because then like you kind of slide down and the tree might end up touching your Jeep. Yeah, it's not good to have trees touching Jeeps. So anyway, that did happen, and it's all good, all in fun. I don't think there was any heavy body damage or anything like that. I think it might have involved like a mirror that, pretty easy to replace. I've lost many mirrors. This right here, this obstacle I'm on, is actually probably the hardest obstacle on the trail in my mind for the 4 doors. And this is a tree obstacle. What kind of tree obstacle is there? There are these like 3 or 4 trees that are positioned really kind of difficult, and you have to do this like kind of 3-point turn that you see me doing, where you just sort of inch yourself like between the trees to get your vehicle like lined up so you can actually fit between them. So like there's this like tree monster. Most of the people that I've taken up here that had 4 doors, 100% like needed to have a spotter, like spot for them. I've kind of done this enough that I can almost get to the point that I can basically do it without a spotter. But basically what you're doing is you're basically putting your tire like on this tree. You can see the right side kind of lifting up a little bit, and the rear tire is actually snookered behind the rear tree, and when you kind of hit the tree with the back of the tire, you can see like right there it kind of caught a little bit, and the Jeep kind of just like rotates around the back tree. It is super tight, yeah, you just get the tires to rub against the trees just a hair, and you can fit through there. So yeah, for a beginner, I probably wouldn't say go up 15B unless you have somebody there that can spot. So this is the other side of the horseshoe. This is just going down it. So you can go up either side, but I think that this side is a little bit more sketchy on going up than down. The main obstacle on this side is actually this really tall straight tree on the left. And I think I actually end up touching the tree, but basically you have to stay very far to the right side of the trail, and otherwise what you'll end up finding is like the top of the Jeep might like rub against the tree because you go off canter a little bit, and there's that big kind of tree there. So that is the 15 trail, and we did have to winch on that trail, believe it or not, because of some little minor mistakes that were made, so to speak. And so I think that from here, and some of this video has been sped up just a hair, so it doesn't seem quite so boring. If you find the greens kind of boring. The next thing that we're going to go down to is 19, and we're not doing the entire 19 trail. We're just doing a small little section of the 19 trail to be able to get down to where we're going, and we're actually headed toward Renee's Hill. The footage for Renee's Hill is already posted. If you just want to jump to Renee's Hill, like you can just look at one of the previous videos and see the footage of Renee's Hill. We're headed to Boy Scout, and then basically the group kind of convinced me that it would be a good idea to do Renee's Hill. So that was how we ended up on Renee's Hill. So anyway, this right here is part of, I believe, 19 trail. Yeah, 19 blue. And on this trail right here, this little section of rocks, I end up going to the right. You can go to the right or the left, it doesn't really matter. I think that the right is a little bit more difficult than the left. So I actually went down the right, but I was actually ahead of the people. And there'll be a spot in here where you actually see where I cut the video just for a second. Basically what I'm doing is I'm telling the Jeep behind me that they should probably go left. Just because you know, they weren't on 40s, and you know, I think that the person that was driving one, you know, probably would have felt more comfortable going on the left than the right. So anyway, I went down the right. I know that in previous videos I've always said that, like, usually typically I go down the easier paths, but for whatever reason I decided to go down the right one this time, and you know, because of that I had to go tell the people behind me, hey, you know, the right side is not the easiest way to go. But I mean, that's fine. So anyway, that is the lower part of the 19 trail, and it's basically just a bunch of kind of big rocks. And once again, to me, it's like avoid the trees. I think it probably would have been a whole lot more challenging going up than down. I've said that before in previous videos also. Typically, if you have the choice between going up a hill or going down a hill on a trail level, if you're concerned about the difficulty of the trail and you think the trail's a little bit hard, and this is the 10 trail that we're on, the green number 10, if you think the trail's going to be a little bit kind of hard or challenging for you and you're kind of a little bit concerned, then try to go at the trail going downhill first, because if you go down the trail, usually it's a lot easier than if you go up the hill trail. If you think the trail is going to be just like a little bit boring or like too easy for you, then consider going up the trail. So then that makes it just a little bit more challenging. So always think about that. And then the other thing is, obviously, you know, if you're apprehensive about going up the hill, maybe go down it, and then you know, once you've kind of figured it out, then turn around and go right back up it. So then you have the chance to go up and down it, but you know, the down opportunity gives you the opportunity of seeing first. So AOAA also allows side-by-sides. There's some side-by-sides and ATVs in front of us, obviously. Typically, the side-by-sides and the ATVs do not travel along with the Jeeps. Typically, they do their thing, and we do our thing, and then we see each other on the green trails. So this little section here I slowed down for. Sometimes gives some stock vehicles some little problems if they, you know, don't have careful tire placement onto these rocks. It doesn't look too bad, but there are some bigger obstacles that can catch up some of the stock vehicles. So for the side-by-sides and the ATVs and the Jeeps and stuff, so how all this kind of works, you have all these different trail difficulties. They have a trail color system. It's kind of like a skiing color system at AOAA. And so you have these green trails. The green trails are like the easy ones, the bunny slopes like with skiing. Typically stock vehicles can go over the green ones. Then the blue ones are a little bit harder. They're like intermediates. And then the black ones are like the hard ones. Sometimes like they say like blue 1, blue 2, black 1, black 2, you know, like double diamonds. Sometimes they do that to kind of indicate this is a harder black or this is an easier black. They also do the same. Red is the hardest extreme one. So like, where does maroon come in? Maroon is ATV only at AOAA. So, you know, the maroon trails are designed for the ATVs and the side-by-sides, not for full-size vehicles. They're probably narrower trails, meant for them to go a little bit faster and not have to worry about Jeeps being on trails. Then the green trails are like the connector trails that get around, like we're on one right now, just trying to get around, that we both share. And then the blue trails, which are the harder trails, like that rock pile that we just went through, and then that up and down, they're intended for Jeeps only typically. And then the black trails are intended for Jeeps only. And then the red trails, I think I'd say that they're probably intended for buggies only. I don't know if these are official rules of AOA. I think they are. I know some people that I've heard that have said that they've taken their Jeeps like on the red trails. I don't think that there's any written rule that says that you can't try to take a Jeep on a red trail. But honestly, I think it's just kind of a little bit stupid to try to take a Jeep on a red trail at AOAA. And the reason for that is like the real kind of like red trails, like the ones that are rated 10, like they have a number system too that AOAA doesn't have, but like kind of throughout the United States they use this number system from like 1 to 10. A true like red trail is like rank 10. Should not be something that a red normal Jeep can go across. It really should be like a buggy only trail. So the hardest trail that I've done in my mind that I remember at AOA, to me what I thought was the hardest was the SOB trail, and it's a double black trail. I thought M Extension was pretty fun also. That was a pretty hard trail. Those two I think would probably be the hardest black trails that are for Jeeps that I've done. I think I've done all the blacks in the park, or if there are some blacks I haven't done, it's just like little tiny itty bitty, you know, 30 feet of trail here or something, but almost all of the main trails I've done, like black and all the blues. It's hard to say that I've done all the greens because they have way too many greens in the park, and there's always like, you know, back roads and things that nobody even knows exists. But Jeeps are capable of doing all the blues in the park and all the blacks in the park. However, some of the blacks are to me, are borderline. You know, you're gonna damage your vehicle if you go up on it. And most of the time, on most of the like SOB and stuff, when I've gone up there, people have done damage to their vehicles. They either broke axles. Like when we did SOB, we had 2 different Jeeps out of the 4 was that broke axles on that trail. We had a CJ Laredo that was propane that had a broken axle, and then we had an XJ that had a broken axle on that trail. So, but you know, I'm not trying to scare anybody. The green trail's totally safe. Like this is a green trail that we're on right here. I would probably recommend 4 low on the green trails, just because you know you don't really want to go too fast. It's hard to not go fast if you're not in the 4 low range on these trails. But honestly, I mean, if you look at most of what we're going on, I mean, I could probably just as easily bring like a sports car out here and go across a lot of the greens. They're just not super challenging. To me, you know, I like the blues. Honestly, the blues seem like they're challenging enough to have fun on, and you know, not challenging enough to think that I'm going to damage something. Some of the blacks are pretty fun. SOB, I think, is a little bit much. That's not. It was fun to do one time, but honestly, you know, I don't know the next time I'm going to do it. So this is 28. This is a green trail also, and some of the green trails, I mean, they're a little bit challenging, I guess, for stock vehicles. You can see that there's some loose rocks here, so maybe I should take back, like I would drive a sports car like out here or whatever. But there's like some loose rocks and stuff that you can see on this trail, so you know, maybe like a 2-wheel drive sports car would have a problem with this, but it's not super duper challenging. But I mean, there are some obstacles, so yeah, I probably should take it back a little bit. But I mean, once again, there's nothing on here that, you know, where you can see that you should be probably damaging your vehicle on. Maybe you'll hit something occasionally, like a skid plate or something occasionally, but there aren't really any large obstacles. You have to do something really, really incredibly, what in my mind, kind of stupid, like maybe like pull out without looking and running into that yellow side-by-side that went by or something, or have like really terrible tire placement to cause like major damage to your vehicle. With that said, I did recently see a picture of a Jeep. It was a Rubicon Recon on Peters Mill in Virginia, and Peters Mill is one of the local trails where I live, and they actually like destroyed their windshield and like partially rolled over and broke some doors and all this kind of stuff. And Peters Mill is actually, I think, easier than the stuff that we're on here. So, like, I literally have no idea how they did that kind of damage on a green trail. So, I guess you can do damage, like, if you're really, like, not paying attention or make a huge monster mistake. But for the most part, the greens are pretty safe. The blues are where you probably can start to get into some trouble with causing some damage. And the blacks are, you know, very high probability of damaging your vehicle. So up here, this steep hill in front of us is the Renee's Hill, and to the left is the Boy Scout Trail, and to the right would be the entrance to Zach's Bender from the bottom. So please like and subscribe, and thank you, and we'll post another video shortly. Thanks!
So I'm going up here.